Yes, we achieved our goal of going 1-0 against a really good James Madison football team and gave us a chance to give us our third win over a nationally ranked opponent in 3 straight years. And the Sun Belt's one of the strongest conference in the country right now. And every game was a tremendous challenge. And we won some close games, and all of our losses have, been decided in the final seconds. And we're looking forward to our last regular season game here against Georgia Southern from another sold out crowd. And as we honor 25 seniors who've given their all for App State. And we're excited to welcome Armani Edwards back to retire his jersey number and have a great weekend.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start off with Dan McDonald. Dan?
Morning, Coach. If I could ask, what were the emotions like while everybody is sitting around waiting for a review?
Well, it was definitely sitting on the edge of our seat there, and we've seen the replay on TV, and our coach said it was good, so kind of relieved a little bit of that part of it. But it's never over till it's over, and once we got the final decision, it was a lot of excitement.
After a win like that, I mean, you're still very likely needing a win this weekend to play in the conference championship game. What is there any chance of a letdown by your guys?
No, I think. To know our team is they come to work every single day, and we have the 24-hour rule, and that's still in effect. We met yesterday and put it to bed, and we in this conference you can't relax. I mean, we watched tape on Georgia Southern last night, and Coach Helton hasn't playing very well right now. So, plus it's a rivalry game, and this game goes back a long way, and it means something to both fan bases.
I was going to ask you, it has to help that this is a big rivalry.
In this conference, every game's a rivalry. I think. I mean, week in and week out it's a gauntlet. So there's no time to rest on your laurels, but to get back to work and get ready for practice on Tuesday.
Appreciate it, Coach.
All right, we'll go over to Lucina. Lucina?
Hey, Coach. Hope we're doing well, and thanks for your time. Is this win something you feel like your team needed in case you make the conference championship game with a worse conference record than James Madison to make it feel like you have truly earned it, so to say?
One more time. What was that question?
Oh, sorry. If this win against James Madison is something like you feel like your team needed in case that you make the conference championship game with a worse conference record than them, so to say, prove that you have earned it?
Every game is tough. I mean, we're living in a result-oriented world we live in. So every game is, every win is, we're going to have fun and celebrate it for a while. But again, you have to go on to the next one. And we're not even talking about championship game. We're talking about Georgia Southern right now. And we can't look ahead. We're not good enough to do that.
And final question, what stands out the most to you about Georgia Southern, and what are your main takeaways from this losing streak they're on?
I got a lot of respect for Coach Helton. He's one of the good ones in our profession. You can't tell they're losing games the way they move the ball on offense. I think their defense is underrated, and they have a very good defense. But they can score every single play. They got playmakers. The quarterback's playing well. The receivers can take it the distance. So again, it's going to be another great college football game.
Awesome, thanks, Coach.
Over to Jackson. Jackson.
Coach, it's not every year that the spot in the conference championship is decided not just by the results on the field, but by a judge in Harrisonburg, of all places. With kind of just the unpredictability of the situation, how it impacts your guys' path to the conference championship, is there any tension or and how are you trying to kind of just block out the noise this week as you prepare for Georgia Southern?
Well, I think we've done a great job all year of blocking out the noise. You got to remember, 5 weeks ago, wherever it was, we were 3-4 sitting here and the whole world was falling in on us. And our kids came back and we took the mantra of keep digging. And again, that's a very close group we have in there, and they play for each other. And again, anything's possible, and it's been a tough stretch. We've been fortunate enough to get some wins versus some very good football teams. So again, our goal is to be 1-0. We're not going to change who we are and what we do. The schedule hasn't changed. Still have practice on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and get ready for a great football game here in Boone.
Do you have any personal opinions about JMU's situation that you would be comfortable sharing at this time?
I don't. I really don't know the details in it. When you coach football, you live in a cocoon, and so I'm worried about Appalachian State.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks, Jackson. We'll go over to Joseph. Joseph.
Hey, Coach. Congrats on the win. With James Madison, something that people say a lot about Coach Cignetti's teams is how fundamentally sound they are on the defensive side of the ball, particularly on the the front seven. How'd you guys combat that, being an O-line guy and just preparing for that battle up front?
Again, all of his teams, the last 2 years, they're so, like you mentioned, they're fundamentally sound. They don't make mistakes. They make you earn it the hard way. And I think they gave up 61 yards rushing. That was their average, and we had 69 before the sack, so we were +8 on a national average. So, again, they're very well coached. Again, they're strong up front, and they can really be disruptive, which they were this past Saturday.
Excellent. And one more from me on Armonte Edwards. I know it's not a guy you coach, but what's it mean to be able to honor a guy like that who, like your seniors, gave a lot to the program when they were playing?
No, he's one of the all-time greatest players ever play here. You think of Armonte Edwards, think about national championships, players of the year. I mean, he's up there on the statue with Coach Moore and Dexter Coakley and all the great ones. So it's a great honor for him. It's a great honor for our program to retire that number. And again, we're very proud of him.
Over to Skip. Skip.
Coach, good morning. First question, what is it about App State that makes them rise to the occasion? The history, Michigan, you with Texas A&M, and this past weekend, James Madison. Why does it continue to happen, and why is App State the guys who are known for the big game performances when they're needed?
We have a very firm base plate. And when I say that, our culture is in place. We recruit the right kind of kids that want to come here and play for championships and get a world-class degree. So this happened way before I was the head football coach, back in Coach Moore's years and Satterfield and Eli's and myself. But again, we have a lot of confidence in who we are, and we lost some tough games this year, but that didn't phase us per se, because again, we had a lot of football to be played. So I knew we had a good football team, and now we're making some plays, and the ball's bouncing our way a little bit, and it's been able to put us on this trajectory we're on right now.
One quick final question. Did you foresee a month ago that you'd still have a shot at having a chance at the Sun Belt Conference Championship game, let alone the title itself?
Yeah, I really didn't think about that. Again, we're sitting after the Coastal Carolina loss. We had to come back in and reevaluate some things and push the reset button again. But our goal is to go 1-0 and be the best version of ourselves week in and week out. And we focused on that. We didn't listen to the outside noise. We listened to us, and we knew we had a good football team. I've been saying it for a long time, and no one really listened. So again, really hats goes off to our players and our coaches for continuing to fight and give ourselves a chance to win week in and week out.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a tough weekend, obviously, playing a really good, tough Army football team, senior day on the road. And they got the better of us, but it's behind us. And whether we won it or lost it, it wasn't going to make much difference in terms of our prep and what we need to do and the business we need to take care of right now.
All right. Thank you, Coach. Let's start off with Dan. Dan, please go ahead.
Morning, Coach.
Morning.
Given your druthers, would you rather have had this game, the game you just played, at a different point in the season?
Yeah, like 10 years ago.
Yeah. With the way that they play offensively, very different from anything else you see.
Yeah, it was even, it's interesting, right? All the film that they showed was shotgun option football. They were in the shotgun, one back. They had moved their fullbacks to tight ends. Number 32 and 33 were actually playing tight ends, H-backs for them. They would motion in a receiver to come into the backfield. They would run some double and triple option. They would get in 4 tackles, 4 offensive linemen, extra big sets, snap the ball at quarterback and just run them, just run power and sweep and things of that nature. We saw 5 snaps of the triple heading into the game, and they came out and ran it the whole game. So can you imagine? There are football teams across the country that have over years and years that had to play the triple option that spend hours upon hours getting ready for it. They work on it in the summer. maybe every Sunday they take a 10-minute period and work on the option. We worked on it between the first series and the second series, and that was it.
Appreciate it, Coach.
We'll go over to Jackson. Jackson.
Coach, no matter what happens this week with JMU and just trying to get that injunction, all your team has to do is win, and you guys are in the Sun Belt Championship. How much extra motivation does that give you and your guys?
Well, I think obviously you played to win championships. You come to Coastal to win championships, and we put ourselves in that position. So, yeah, there's probably a little more bounce in the step this week. But, heck, since we started the season 0-2 in conference, every game was a do-or-die game for the last 5 or 6 conference games. So our back's been up against the wall since probably September, October.
Thank you.
Go over to Pete. Pete.
Hey, Tim, a couple of quick questions. What have you seen so far out of JMU? What are they doing that makes them have this terrific season that they're having? And also, is there any update on Grayson? Is there a chance he might play this weekend?
So the first part, they're well coached. They do a great job coaching their players. They play really hard. They're very sound fundamentally. Great defensive team, tackle well. You got to beat them. They're not going to give you the ball game. Offensively, you got a really good offensive line, dynamic quarterback in McLeod. He does all kinds of things. A couple of really good receivers and a solid running backs and tight ends, and they're multifaceted. You can't focus on one particular player to beat them, and that's what makes them so good. That they're good on special teams, really good on their punt team, their punt return team, all their coverage units. It's just a well-coached, put together football team, and you got to earn it. You got to earn it to beat them. So my hat goes off to App. It was a hard-fought game, and they beat them. And as far as your second question, I don't think so. You asked, do I think he'll be back? I think it's doubtful.
Yeah. Thanks, Tim.
Go over to Alan. Alan.
Hey, Coach. You said during the week that you had planned to play Ethan Vasco at quarterback. Did something change late in the week, or was that just maybe a ploy to trick Army? And what do you have for a plan this week?
Yeah, Ethan had a little bit of an injury when we did the media presentation last. We didn't know about it, and then kind of surfaced as we went through the week, and then we had Jared ready. I felt like Jared was going to be ready anyways, and but at that time when it was asked, I remember saying at this time he was our starter, because at that time he was.
And I guess going into this week, do you think you have both available, and do you think both will play? Or
yes, I think we'll have both available.
Okay, time for one more, Joseph.
Hey, Coach, sorry about that. Congrats on the win. Army has kind of got a reputation this year for switching up their offense a little bit. However, when they played you guys, they went back to that more traditional triple option kind of look. How did that affect what you guys wanted to do in terms of, defensive strategy on Saturday?
Yeah, like I had mentioned earlier, I don't know if maybe you weren't on. We didn't work that at all. So imagine playing a triple option team and not working on it, because they hadn't shown it. So when they did, we basically tried to make the adjustments on the sidelines with our players who had dive, who had pitch, who had quarterback, trying to do that. I thought our defense did a pretty good job. We held them to 1 score in the second half. They just ate the clock up, and that offense, that's how they play. They put a little pressure on you offensively because they take up so much time. We ran 4 plays in the first quarter, and it's just hard if you can't get them off the field. And, I think at the end of the day, there were opportunities that we let slip by that I know we all wish we had back, and the outcome might've been different, but hats off to them. They did a really good job. They kept that hidden from us, and it definitely played an impact in the game.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Coach. We do appreciate your time today.
All right. Thank you. Yep. Saturday, hard fought game. Give App a lot of credit. They earned the victory. Really proud of our guys, the way they came back in the fourth quarter. It was a great effort. There were a lot of great individual efforts. I think that showed, about the resolve of our football team, but they played better in overtime than we did. And so we've got to learn from it. You're in this business, you're going to lose, and you got to learn from it and come back stronger. Got a big contest this week against Coastal Carolina, who's playing very well. I think Coach Beck's done an outstanding job with that team, improving them every week. They're a really good football team, and there's a lot at stake in this game. If we're able to be successful, we would have the best record in the Sun Belt East, and under normal circumstances, be the Sun Belt East champions. And, in terms of the crossover versus Troy, would beaten them. So, theoretically, you could lay a claim to an unofficial conference championship, but we haven't given up total hope in being able to play that game if we are successful on Saturday. But it'll be a very difficult challenge because Coastal is very good on offense, very multiple with weapons at receiver. Quarterback's playing well. They get great design. Running backs are good, stretching in a lot of different ways, and their defense is only giving up 21 points a game. So when I look at that team from the first week of the season till now, Coach Beck's done a great job of really improving that team on a weekly basis.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start off with Pete from the Associated Press.
Hey, Curt, your guys obviously hadn't lost before Saturday. Have you seen these past couple of days the things you wanted, that they're handling it, they're channeling it the right way in order to get back on a successful track?
Well, we see them tonight really for the first time.
Yeah.
They have weights this afternoon, but I'm confident that, our guys will bounce back, learn from this game. I think when you're not successful, everybody individually and collectively need to assess themselves in every area, and all the things that affect preparation and lead to performance. And, what could you have done better? And that's what I expect us to do this week.
Thank you.
Go over to Dan.
Morning, Coach.
Morning.
What was the emotions like on the sideline while everybody's sitting around waiting for a review?
Oh, I don't know. I can't really speak for everyone else. He got in the end zone. It appeared the game was over. Then all of a sudden, I thought the review was, did he get in or did he not? And then you see on the scoreboard where he fumbled the ball, and you're like, oh boy, he fumbled the ball. But once you saw it the second or third time, it was apparent he got in the end zone. So, it's a game of inches, and that play was a game of inches.
If you do not get satisfaction through the courts, and so forth, and through the legal system, it's still a very good possibility that your guys have postseason in their future if things do bounce right. How do you approach that with your team right now, or do you even approach it?
I haven't really even mentioned it to him up to this point. I might mention it to him this week because, it appears there's a very strong chance that we're going to end up in a bowl game. And, if we can take care of business this week, it'll be a good ball game. And, but all the focus needs to be on this team today, being in the here and now, controlling the controllables, and having A+ preparation and stacking great days on top of each other.
Appreciate it, Coach.
You're welcome.
Let's go over to Jackson.
Hey, Coach, this is the second year in a row that you guys are entering the final game of the season against Coastal with an opportunity to finish first in the East. Just kind of, what does that, kind of mean to your guys, especially considering, you guys haven't been able to go to the conference championship past few years?
Well, last year's over, and this is just the next game. We played the last game, and this is the set of circumstances leading into this game. Regardless of what the set of circumstances are, it really doesn't affect our processes and how we go about doing things or our goals and what we're trying to achieve Saturday. So that stuff really has no bearing in terms of
doing the things we've got to do to be the best we can be on Saturday. And that's what we have to do. And this is a week we should have no distractions at all. It's Thanksgiving. We're out of school. We got extra time to prep. This ought to be a great week.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Coach. That's all the time we have for you today. I do appreciate it.
Yep. Disappointing loss. Didn't play well enough in all three phases, obviously, to win a game on the road versus a good opponent. And, a lot of self-scout, self-reflection since that ball game has happened. And football is the best sport in the world because it, teaches you how to respond to adversity. And we got a lot of adversity right now, and we got to finish the right way for these seniors.
Thanks, Coach. We'll start off with Pete from the Associated Press.
Hey, Coach. Win or lose this weekend, it's getting to be that time when your transfer portal's open and things like that, and your players may be susceptible to some overtures from bigger teams, Power 5 teams, things like that. How do you handle that? Do you talk with them throughout the year about what your school can offer them as opposed to other places? It seems like recruiting just goes on forever these days.
I haven't had those conversations, not yet. I'm sure it's happening. I think that's just kind of college football nowadays, but I just control what I can control, and we got bigger problems right now than that.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, we'll go over to Dan. Dan.
Morning, Coach.
Morning.
You had the lead in that ball game, and then it looked like somebody just turned the dam loose. When a game's going like that, I mean, what can you do to try to turn the momentum some?
Yeah, I feel the exact way you just described that. We were back and forth early on, and just some uncharacteristic self-inflicted wounds after watching it on both sides of the ball. And that's kind of been our Achilles heel on offense has been turnovers. So obviously we have to address that. I don't know if that's something that that necessarily can be addressed right now, more maybe an off-season deal where you have more time. Obviously you focus on it the next couple of weeks and going into the bowl game. But and then I think on defense was the first time we're getting them into those third and long situations, and just for whatever reason, just couldn't execute. And I think coaching and like I said, self-inflicted wounds was a big part of the loss on Saturday. And credit to those guys. I mean, they played really well, and they're really well coached. In all three phases.
If I could ask one more quickly. Obviously, you mentioned the bowl game. That's in your future. When you came into the Sun Belt, I know you had a lot of good things to say about the league, but did you ever envision a scenario where the league could realistically get 11 or 12 teams in bowl games?
I knew it was a really good league coming into this. When I got the job, and then I know it even more now after going through, and that'll definitely help us next year. Talk about a first year program and first year. All our coaches being in the Sun Belt, more about each opponent each time you face them and get to see them on film. But actually going to their stadium or seeing them in person, it helps you out tremendously. And I think obviously we're the best non-group of Power 5, whatever you say on that to play. So we got really good teams, and I think really good coaches in this league.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Yep.
Let's go over to Joseph. Joseph.
Hey, Coach. Based on what you've seen out of your team the last few weeks, what do you think are the biggest tweaks that you guys need to make for this last week of the regular season and heading into the bowl game?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think we've just been inconsistent. And I think, just to be perfectly honest with you, year one, you have a bunch of new players. I think we started off really, really strong. And once you get into conference play and people have more film of you, I think we just have to do a better job of coaching. I think we have to do a better job, in all areas. I think we need to play better. We need to coach better. And then, you never want to blame stuff on injuries. I'm not that guy. It's kind of loser mentality, but it is what it is. We have a bunch of key players not playing right now. And I think it hurts you on special teams more than anything, offense and defense. So we just got to continue to coach these guys hard and love them up. And, the message this week is for the seniors and to send these guys out on the right note and to finish up what is, considered, in my opinion, a successful season, first year getting to a bowl game. And that's not the goal we had for ourselves at the beginning of the season. But I do think it's one of our goals. And, we need to send these seniors out on the right note and have some momentum going to that bowl game.
Time for one more from Sam. Sam?
Coach, you obviously mentioned, getting bowl eligible, being able to go to a bowl game. But this weekend, you got two teams playing that had the opportunity to finish the regular season with a winning record. I think it'd be the first time since 2014 for Texas State. Is that something that you had kind of on your to-do list, your checklist for the year? Was that a goal for the team, and how big would it be for the program to kind of get back on that winning side of the record?
Yeah, I think that would be obviously something, the beginning of the year is to win all the games. So I wouldn't say that was necessarily a goal, but each time, you kick it off, you want to win. And we're playing against a very good opponent, a very well-coached opponent in all three phases again. And so, it's going to be quite the challenge. And we got to come and play. And play well in all three phases and coach well in all three phases. So, that's where my focus is. And this is where our team's focus is for these seniors.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Thank you. And thank you, Coach. Do appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, obviously exciting weekend for our football team coming up, a rivalry game against a good App State team that's playing really hot football right now in the month of November. I got my first taste of this rivalry last year and see how special it is for both alumni group, fan bases, students, and the team, the players. And so my first opportunity to go up to Boone, North Carolina, looking forward to the opportunity to compete. Last year this game was to fight. Both teams were fighting to get bowl eligible. And now we sit here both bowl eligible, trying to play for even better postseason opportunities. So should be a lot of fun, and looking forward to the opportunity. With that, I'll take any questions you got.
I appreciate that, Coach. We'll start off with Dan McDonald. Dan?
Morning, Coach. How big is it for you to have this rivalry game, to have really, I don't want to use the term something to play for, but I know it's been a struggle the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, definitely. I've always felt like, there's some special games out there in college football. And when you talk about Georgia Southern and App State and you see the passion by both fan bases and how much it means to the players, it didn't matter if you hadn't won a game or you've won them all. It's one of those games that's ultra special for both communities. And so, I think both teams are sitting in a better position than they were last year at this time. We were both fighting in this game to see who would be postseason eligible. And now we're both sitting here postseason eligible, trying to get even better opportunities. So credit to Shawn. He's doing a great job with his football team. And we're proud of being able to be a consistent bowl eligible team now, trying to grow as a team and trying to get a late November win against a rival. So should be a lot of fun.
If I could ask one more quickly. You talked about being in better shape this year. When you came into the Sun Belt, did you envision that this league could possibly have 11 or 12 teams in bowl games, which could easily happen?
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that really intrigued me about the job was just the strength of the conference, and not only from the quality of coaches, but the quality of players. And, you knew that coming in, it was going to be ultra competitive. Now going through my second season here, I can tell you that each and every week you're fighting for your life. It feels like the Super Bowl, and you've got it's such great parity from top to bottom and so competitive from top to bottom in this league. That's no surprise to me. This league's going to have 10 plus bowl teams that are available in it. And it's the reason I truly believe it's the premier group of 5 league in the country. It keeps proving that in its non-conference play and its in success. And now it's going to prove it in its postseason opportunities that it gets also.
Appreciate it, Coach.
We'll go over to Pete with the Associated Press. Pete.
Yeah, Clay, we're getting to that time of year where no matter what happens with you guys, it's transfer portal season. It's Power Fives looking lower. I mean, a few years ago, you might have been on the other end of all this. Now, I mean, how do you kind of keep your players, happy at Georgia Southern, the fact that, hey, this is a place that you want to be? Is it a year-round thing that you have to do with your players?
Yeah, the one beautiful thing about football and being a football coach and a player, we're in the trust relationship business. And I think one of the biggest things that we do as coaches is build relationships, not only with players, but with families, and build that trust that we have their best interest in mind. And, we were very fortunate after year one to have very limited attrition when it came to the portal. I think that's for several reasons. I really believe that Georgia Southern is a really special place. And you look at our makeup and our breakdown, you got 129 members on this football team, and 87 of them are from the state of Georgia. The players wanted to come here. They know the history behind it. They know the tradition of excellence that's here, and they know the education, and so when you put tradition and you put, being a place that really focuses on staying home, recruiting, and then you build those relationships and trust, you got a better opportunity. Doesn't mean you're going to bat 100% out of it, but I think you'll limit, and we saw that in year one, and hopefully those relationships and that trust that we build in year two will keep more than we lose.
Thanks, Clay.
We'll go over to Lucina. Lucina.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for your time. Hope you're well. What stands out the most to you out of App State and the win they just had, and how much of a motivating factor is it for your team to potentially ruin their championship hopes?
Well, I don't know if you need any more motivation when it comes to the greater than 8 game. I felt that last year. I've been a part of some special games, whether it's Auburn, Alabama, whether it's USC, Notre Dame, and being a part of this rivalry, it's right there with it. It's the same emotions, it's the same passions. I think Shawn does a great job. I really do. He's offensive line coach by trade, and you can see the balance that he creates in his offense, both run and pass. I think they're playing at a high level. It's one of the reasons they're one of the top 25 scoring teams in the country. They're playing really good offense right now. And then you back it up with a defense that's been really hot here late. I got so much respect for what they did against James Madison last week defensively. I thought it was an ultra impressive performance that kind of got the quarterback a little bit frazzled, to be honest with you, with the pressures that they came with, hiding coverages. They do a really good job. It's one of the reasons they're competing for, to represent the East here late. And it's our job to go try to get 1-0 on the week and to win a rivalry.
Got time for one more from Joseph. Joseph.
Hey, Coach, on the note of rivalries and ones you've been a part of, as conferences get shuffled around and all that, do you have a preference on whether or not you want to see these main rivalry games played at the end of the season versus earlier in the year?
Well, this has been a really important game, us and App State. It seems, I don't know if it's coincidence, but I mean, last year you look at this game and the winner was going to postseason play and the loser wasn't getting the opportunity. And then, leading up until the last week, we lost our opportunity losing to ODU last week. App State won, and now they have an opportunity. So here it is again, a rivalry game with some big stakes on the line. So I've enjoyed it late in the season. I love it when the November matters the most. But one of the things I really appreciate about this league is, especially the teams that were brought in, there's so many past relationships when we were in the FCS at one point in time. You look at the rivalry between us and Coastal Carolina, us and Marshall. There's a lot of history between these schools, and a lot of emotions with the fan bases. So it makes it for fun. That's part of the greatness of college football is the passion. And here comes a lot of passion in late November with a lot on the line. So that's what you play for. That's what we live for. And that's why we play the game.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
All right, guys. Hail Southern.
Yeah, just came off of a tough loss to Ole Miss. You know, when you play two of these Power 5 games and that one coming late in the season, it's one of those you sometimes don't look forward to because you know the outcome can be tough, pretty tough. But I'm so proud of our players. We've struggled this year, lost close ball games, and it's been a year the players just have to play for pride and learn to get off the ground and get up and play hard again as we've lost some close games. But you know, we went out against Ole Miss and they've been prolific at scoring. And if you're in Louisiana, you know, they put 55 on LSU, and we go into that game and we're down 7-3 at halftime. And then they just had too many bullets in that second half. They just pulled away and then hit a couple of deep plays late in the game to make it look worse. But they weren't going to lose that game. But we sure put ourselves. I think we earned a lot of respect. And I love seeing these players in a tough year like we've had, where we've lost some close games, to go out there and play so hard in a game that nobody really gave them a chance to win. And so really proud of them and coming out of that game. Now we got our rival. Now we've got Lafayette, and that's our state rival, and that's our Sun Belt state championship game. And they're a very good football team. And so we've got to go down there and play at their place. And we were able to win the game last year, but they had 5 straight before that. And so, but our players need something to play for when you're not in the bowl contention. Then being able to play your rivalry, you don't need a reason to get up for that game. And so we look forward to it and trying to keep that boot, which is I guess the award you get for this game, the boot, keep it right here in Monroe against a very, very good football team.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start off with Dan McDonald. Dan?
Morning, Coach.
Morning.
Your guys, I kept hearing the commentators say how flat Ole Miss was and how flat they were, but it sure looked like in the first half your guys had something to do with that.
Well, you know, and I'm not going to, you know, I mean, I do know enough, having been on the other side of this coin, that sometimes it's very hard to get up for a team that's from the G5 when you're playing right before your Egg Bowl. And I don't doubt at all that they weren't flat. In fact, when you win games like this, you win it because the other team is flat. You win it because emotionally they're not invested. You win it because they make mistakes they don't normally make. And if they don't do it, you don't win. And I've been on both sides of this coin a lot, and won a few of these things. But you don't do it unless the other team doesn't bring their best game. So it doesn't bother me when the other team says they were flat, because that's why you're in the game, and that's why upsets occur. One team plays their very best and has all the reasons for respect and all those things to play, and the other team probably has got to hope they get a low play count because they've got 4 or 5 days before their game in the Egg Bowl. And so, but like I said, I'm pleased that our players played so hard, because in the state of Louisiana, everybody knows that Ole Miss put 700. They had 700 yards, over 700 yards and 55 points on LSU. And people kind of say, well, gosh, that's not a bad showing. I want our players to play hard every week. We've struggled. We're not in bowl contention right now. We got to build this team back up. And so I'm just proud to see our players still going out and playing as hard as they can in a game where nobody gives them a chance to win.
What are a couple of things that the Cajun team has done this year that have impressed you?
Well, yeah, they started out so strong, and I think they had some problems. That quarterback got hurt, and they've struggled here. They've lost some close games, but they're a very talented team. They can play. They have great offensively. They are a strong team. Defensively, they can run very, very well. They still have one of the best return teams, if not the best kicking game teams in the conference. And again, they've got tradition. They've got tradition of playing in bowl games and playing for the conference championship. And so we have a strong desire to play our best as well. So just a very good Lafayette team, and it's important to them. It's bowl eligibility for them. And so somebody said earlier, I think it was the last coach that was on, is how strong this conference is. And it is so strong. And when you throw in, like we do every year, a Texas A&M and an Ole Miss off conference and an Army and things like that, it makes it hard. But Lafayette just, again, represents the quality of competition in this conference.
Appreciate it, Coach.
All right.
Go to Pete with the Associated Press. Pete.
Hey, Terry, a couple of quick
Yes.
ones.
Okay.
Do you feel like outside the wins and losses, do you feel like you've established some things to put this program on the right footing in the future?
I don't think the record indicates that. The record does. It's hard to explain it, but we are competitive with everybody, and that wasn't the case when I got here. We were 0-11, had not even been leading in any game. In the first year, there were several teams in this conference we couldn't even be on the field with. But we're competitive with everybody. You just take App State, who beat James Madison, and James Madison looked pretty unbeatable after they beat Troy in a tight ball game. And here goes App State, who had to kick a 54-yard field goal as time expired to beat us, go out and win that game. And again, Troy and all the teams that are so good. So again, I do see progress in our quality of our team, and I just feel bad for our players that are on this team that we couldn't make it happen this year. At Akron, we took over a 1-11 team, and it was the fourth year before we had their first 8-win season, their first bowl victory ever. And then we repeated it 2 years later. I just feel bad that the guys that are finishing up this year couldn't experience that. But I do believe that they have our program. I think most everybody I want to say South Alabama whipped us pretty dang good. South Alabama whipped us pretty good, and we weren't in that. But I think most every game we've lined up and been able to play with most teams in our conference.
Yeah, and Terry, just wanted to know, too, now that the season's coming to a close, I'm sure teams above you in the Power 5 notice that your players are a little more competitive. How do you manage to keep them all, intact and together and not wanting to look for outside opportunities given the free movement there is now?
Well, and again, this is my third year here. There's going to be some guys jumping the portal. I don't know that any of us in this league are going to be immune to it. Yeah. If we win a lot of ball games, our players and maybe their parents, because this isn't just about the players, maybe their parents think they can play at a higher level or they want to try it. So if we play well, I think they feel like they got a better chance to get to Portland and rise. And if we don't play well, they rise. So I think we just got to do a best job. I think Coach Helton mentioned it. We got to have great trust with our players. But I do know for a fact, because we lost our quarterback last year. We lost, I think, 5 offensive starters in the portal last year that did not graduate, and about 4 on defense. And so I'm not sure I can change any of that. I sure as heck I can't worry about. Have great trust. And try to let the players know how valuable it is. I think they're beginning to see that when they try to go somewhere else, quite often they're being recruited as a backup. They're being recruited as depth, and they can't get that one back. And so I think this is starting to get that feel, because we don't have quite the facilities I think other teams have in our conference. And sometimes the grass looks greener on the other side of the fence. But all we can do is just see what happens and then make sure that we can get from the portal equivalent to what we lost in the portal. Because the portal's been pretty. It's not the part of the game over the last 30 years that I've coached. It's not the part that I like the most. But the players probably do appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. Thanks, Terry.
You're welcome.
Thank you, and thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
All right, take care, man.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all covering our program and the conference as a whole. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Excited about our team getting to spend this week together. A lot of work to do to get ready for a really talented Southern Miss team. Good to get a win last weekend, trying to get another one this weekend. Questions?
All right, thank you, Coach. We'll start off with Craig Stevenson. Craig?
Hey, Coach, with Southern Miss making the change at play caller, what have you noticed different about them? They seem to be a little more explosive.
Yeah, I think sometimes Will does a great job calling plays. He's a good offensive mind, but I think sometimes when you're the head coach and you're calling the plays, whether it be on offense or defense, you can maybe get tied up in that, and it can take away from your ability to manage the entire game. And also when you're allowing a coordinator to call it, and as a head coach, you may be providing input or feedback, but you're not maybe having to invest that amount of time. You may free a guy up to do some different things or some new things or some unique things, or look outside the box. And so I think they've definitely done a nice job. Jordy Joseph, I think's involved in calling the plays. It's kind of neat for me. He was a walk-on quarterback at Tulane when I coached there. So it's a guy I'm familiar with, and I'm very proud of Jordy and happy for him. Not surprised one bit for Jordy to have the success he's having in this profession. Was a great player and a really competitive kid who was highly intelligent. So he's doing a really good job, I think. But it's created some new things that they're doing.
And then just, Gunnar just continues to play well. Hasn't thrown an interception in 5-6 games or whatever it is. Just on the field, what is he doing better than he has ever done before?
Yeah, I think it starts with what he's doing off the field. His preparation has been a lot more intentional this year. I think last year, one of the best things that happened for Gunnar was Jarrett Dagey coming here, because Jarrett was like a pro's pro off the field in regards to investing time in film study and knowing the opponent and the looks you may see. So I think that's helped Gunnar. Gunnar's really put a lot of time into his craft this year, just studying more tape. I think Monday through Wednesday when I walk by Coach Craddock's office, I think you look down there, and most Mondays through Wednesdays, Gunnar's in there from like 8:30 to probably 11 watching tape all the time. And the other quarterbacks may come in and out based upon their class schedule. The one nice thing about Gunnar at this point is he's a football player in college because he's already graduated. So he's really invested a lot in his preparation from a mental standpoint. Therefore, I think he can play confident in knowing where to go with the football, maybe when to eat the ball or when to throw it away, or maybe when to hand it off on a run pass option where maybe, hey, don't take a chance here. So I think he's done a nice job protecting the football, which gives you a chance to win the game.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go over to Lucina. Lucina?
Hey, Coach, thanks for your time and happy Thanksgiving. Your name has been mentioned quite a lot as a potential candidate for various open head coaching positions at Power 5 schools. How do you deal with that, and how do you make sure it doesn't affect your team when you're trying to repeat as conference champions?
Yeah, you take it head on. I mean, I told our team last week, I'm right where my feet are. Anytime you have success as a program, they're going to talk about where's the head coach going to go next. Anytime you don't do well as a program, they're talking about how can they get rid of you. So they want you to leave one way or the other. They don't want you to be happy where you are. And I'm really happy right where I'm at in Troy, Alabama, coaching where I'm coaching. Am I going to die here? I don't know that, but I'm really happy doing what I'm doing. And I like where I'm at, love what I get to do, love the people I do it with. I'm very focused on right where I'm at. So that attention that it may come my way has very little to do with me and a lot to do with the people around me and the players in our team.
That's great. And one more, if I may. You have won your division in your 2 years here. When you took the job, what would you have said if someone told you that you would be in this position?
Good.
That's great. Thanks, Coach.
Got time for one more from Pete with the Associated Press. Pete?
Yeah, John, you talk about being where your feet are, and how do you get your players to feel the same way, given the fact that as they improve, they probably get looks from Power Fives, and then we get into this free movement portal system out there?
That's a great question. We had a guy get drafted last year in the 4th round who, before I got here, was not known, Jake Andrews.
Yeah.
Javon Solomon this year had plenty of people trying to get him to go into the portal when he was not in the portal and offering him certain dollar amounts. And he stayed, and he's going to be a draft pick this year. So I think the formula for us is, there's 3 things that matter about getting in the NFL. One is what you put on tape, how you test at Pro Day, and then what's your character. And our guys, we got a lot of high character guys here. If you're playing here, that's better than going to maybe be a rotational piece somewhere else. Now, I may not be able to get you paid at Troy what you might be able to get paid somewhere else, but what's $50,000 or $100,000 when you may want to go get drafted in the 3rd or 4th round and make $1 million a year? So that's kind of how we approach it. Some guys are going to look at the grass being greener. There's going to be opportunities to come certain ways at times. It's a two-way street. Some guys will leave because they want more playing time. Some guys may chase a sexier logo if they think that's cool. But for us, it's about just helping them show that they're going to grow their value here. And you can go anywhere from Troy. DeMarcus Ware played here. O.C. Manure played here. Leotis McKelvin played here. And like I said, Jake Andrews was a 4th-round pick last year. And when I got here, I had no NFL scouts ask me about Jake Andrews until about game 4 last year. And they're like, hang on, who's this guy? So I just think it's the nature of the beast. You have to embrace the world we live in now. You can either adapt or die, and we're going to adapt and evolve. But you have to know that that's always out there. It does make managing your roster tough, though, because you don't always know who you can depend on or count on being available on your team, and how that may shake out's a little more tricky now.
Yeah. Thanks, John.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Have a great day.
Yeah, coming off of a tough one last week, hosting UL Monroe this week. So, we got one more chance to go get our 6th win and get ourselves bowl eligible. And that's what we're going to plan on doing this week.
All right. Thank you, Coach. We'll start off with Dan. Dan?
Morning, Coach. How difficult is it to keep your guys' spirits going? And does it help that you've got a rivalry game right here at the end?
Well, I mean, if our guys aren't motivated to play in a bowl game, then, then you don't have the right guys. I don't know any other way to put that. We got the right guys in the locker room. I mean, they know the issues. They know why we've dropped these close ones. They understand. I mean, they see it, and they've approached it head on every week. So, if you want to get different results, then you got to continue to work. You got to do some things a little bit different, a little bit better. And that's, from myself all the way down to our scout team players. Everyone's got to do it a little bit better to get a better result. So, no, I mean, our team is highly motivated, and, I think the opponents are relevant. It doesn't matter who you play. You got to be ready to go and play the game. We figured that out. Certainly rivalry games are fun because they always mean a lot, but it doesn't matter who you play this week. It's senior night. It's the last game in Cajun Field as we know it. It's against UL Monroe. It's all those things, the chance to be bowl eligible. I mean, there's a lot of things in front of us that we need to be excited about and need to go play well for.
You mentioned the rivalry game, and you played in this game some. What does it mean as far as having a conference opponent that's also a state rival?
Well, I mean, I think rivalries are good for college football. I think that's what fan bases naturally get behind. They have interest in it. It just, there's history behind there. And I think, certainly there's no love lost, which always makes it a little bit better. But the reality of it is, I think, fan interest and engagement is what makes college football, what it is. So when you have rivalries, particularly in-state rivalries, it just makes it that much more interesting, I guess, for everyone else to see and to be, invested in.
When you look at ULM, what do they do that might create you some problems?
Defensively, I think Coach Kane does a phenomenal job. I've played against him since he was at Troy, and I think the guy he presents a whole lot of issues. There's ID issues, and he's got a lot of moving pieces. And defensively, they're going to create negative plays by nature of the way they play. You've got to kind of understand that's going to be part of it. You cannot turn the ball over. It can't turn into critical errors. It's got to be something that you can weather and move forward. And then offensively for them, they've kind of adapted a little bit to some of these wide splits and 4 open, which has given us some trouble in the past this year. So, we're going to have to handle that. I would expect them to feel like they have an opportunity to go out there and exploit that. And then for us offensively, it's going to be, identifying where they're at, blocking them up. And I think they've got a good front. I think their front does a really good job. They're active and they play hard.
If I could ask one more real quickly, I know you've talked a lot about how difficult this league can be, but did you ever foresee a time that the Sun Belt might get as many, and very conceivably could get as many as 12 teams into bowl games?
No, I mean, long story short, no. Whenever I played in the Sun Belt a long time ago, I mean, my first year in the Sun Belt, we had to petition to get our conference champion bowl eligible because they finished 5-6. And North Texas was 5-6. They'd won all 5 conference games, and we had to petition to get them in. So, no, I mean, long story short, but it's something that, I've talked about this league, how proud I am to be a part of it and how far it's come. And I mean, I think obviously that would be a tangible sign, is where it's at.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Coach. And thank you, Dan. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, tough loss for us going on the road to a rival, in the SEC, Mississippi State. Our kids played extremely hard. We had our chances. We cut it to a one-score game with about 8 minutes to go. And, they drove it back down the field and scored. And then we threw a pick six right there at the end to make it look like it was a lopsided game. But played extremely hard, took the lead right out of the gate, and did some really good things. Disappointed we weren't able to get the win. We've been playing better. We'd won 2 in a row going into that game, and thought we matched up well in a lot of areas. I think we've really improved over the last few weeks. Thought we had a chance to win the game, and disappointed we couldn't make the plays down the stretch to win it. And but like I said, man, on the road at an SEC opponent, that's a tough thing to do, but it's something we're certainly striving to do in this program, and think we're on course to do that one day. So with that, I'll open it up.
I think Coach will start off with Heath Hinton. Heath.
Hey, Coach, did they explain to you, or did you get clarification on what the penalty was on Mims there, or what they called on that play? Because it seemed like I don't understand what the call was, so I was hoping maybe they gave you an explanation.
Yeah, we've sent it in. I think he was outside the 9-yard mark, which is the top of the numbers, before the ball was snapped, or before the ball was put into play the previous time, is what they said. I don't know. We've sent it in to get clarification because, like I said, that's something that's been run already this year by other teams, and was not called a penalty. So we usually get those clarifications at some point during the week.
We'll go over to Sam. Sam.
Hey, Will. You have any updates on Ethan Crawford this week, and if you expect him to be available?
Yeah, I expect him to be available. Yep.
Then if I could just ask my other questions, I guess, if there's no one. Just when you look at Troy's defense, I think that's obviously a thing that people are talking about and stands out. What just stands out to you on the tape when you analyze them?
Yeah, you got a combination of two things. Number one, they've got really good players that are really old. We were counting their snap counts of guys that have actually played at their school. I mean, it's unbelievable how many snaps, that their starters have actually played at Troy. And they're really good players. They're 4D linemen, man, 9 and 6 and 4 and 98 are all probably NFL guys. I think it's the 2 best D lines in this league going against each other this week. And then, man, John, I got a lot of respect for Jon Sumrall and what he does and how they play. Taylor Polk's a Mississippi guy that's done a great job over there too. And they play like their hair's on fire, and they play very sound. They tackle well, they leverage the ball, they keep it in front of them, they make you snap it again. You can tell mentality-wise they understand that defense is not necessarily about stopping plays. It's about stopping the other team from scoring. And they do that. They make you snap it again, and eventually one of their guys makes a play. So really good players that are really old and experienced with really good coaching.
All right, we'll go over to the other Sam. Sam.
Hey, Will, you mentioned, the veteran players for Troy on defense. Also, they've got a veteran quarterback in Gunnar Watson. What are some things you've seen from him if he's improved his game this year to kind of help them balance out their offensive attack a little bit more?
Yeah, I got a lot of respect for Gunnar, man. He's a tough guy. Played hurt a lot last year for him. Gets the ball to the right people. They do a great job of protecting him. They want to run the football, and off of that, they're going to get their shots. They've got some really good receivers. That number 6 man makes a lot of plays, and Gunnar understands, and they've done a great job with him of playing winning football. He understands that, man, if I take care of it and I get it to the right people, that we play really good defense here too. And it's not always cool to play that way as a quarterback, but it wins, and it's won forever and ever. So I got great respect for him.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys.
Sure. Good afternoon, and happy Thanksgiving to all you guys. Yeah, we had a little road trip down to Baton Rouge to play the LSU Tigers, and To be quite honest with you, for about 26 minutes of that first half, we played them about as good as we could have. We missed a fourth down touchdown throw that would have made it 21-21. And then, when you make a mistake and they have the capability offensively that they do with the quarterback and their skill position players, they were able to take advantage of that and throw it over the top of us a few times and pull away there in the first half very quickly. But, the effort from our football team was exactly what I wanted to see. We certainly didn't go down there and be in awe of LSU in their stadium or anything like that. We got beat by a better football team and potentially the Heisman Trophy winner. And he was every bit as much as advertised. His throwing, his running ability, all inclusive, was just too much for us to handle. But, I was proud of the effort. We certainly got to do some things to disrupt. Anytime you come up against an opponent with that type of firepower, you've got to do something to disrupt them. And to be honest with you, we couldn't do anything to disrupt them offensively. But a lot of good things happened out there. I thought our offense kind of found its mojo back from a few weeks. I told them we had actually lost it in the second half against Louisiana Lafayette. And we were there to find it again, and we found it again. I thought we executed pretty efficiently offensively, running the football, throwing the football. He had to take a couple opportunities on fourth down plays just to stay on the field, and we weren't able to convert those. But all in all, I was pretty pleased.
Coach, we'll start off with Stan. Stan?
Hey, Shawn.
Hey,
welcome
Stan.
back from the Bayou.
Oh yeah, it was a great experience. I can't wait to go back. I wish we could schedule that every year.
Yeah, I bet you do. How much more appealing does Georgia State Panthers become with a win this week to a bowl committee? And you're 7-5. You've got a school record for most wins. How much more appealing do you become?
This is a big week for us. Our last 4 weeks hasn't been all that great. I mean, we've played some good football teams and weren't able to get the wins in the last 4 weeks. But to have an opportunity to go and finish it up with our 7th win, like I said, tying a mark for the most in school history, have an opportunity to go and have postseason play. This is a huge, huge game for us. Old Dominion, I think, is a really good opponent. I love watching. I actually watch them pretty much every week. When I say watch them, I like to see what they're doing offensively and defensively. They're a sound football program. They're vying, trying to step up and become bowl eligible. So they're going to have a huge, little incentive in playing harder. But I think they play hard each and every week. You can see the teams they played tough and knocked off. I expect it to be a tough week for us.
Who does their quarterback compare to that you've seen this year?
Well, he's kind of similar to the Georgia Southern guy. For whatever reason, they run similar. I would say similar offenses right there. They like to spread you out a little bit tempo right there. When I say spread, it's true spread. I mean, they're going to push you to the sideline with their double twin sets right there. Take advantage of a little inside run when you do lighten the box and then throw it over the top of you out there on the perimeter and try to beat you. But they'll probably peek back a little bit more offensively than what we've seen, and we have to be prepared for it. When I say prepare for it, we got to be able to play with tempo, but we also got to be able to change our our coverages and our fronts when they do the peaking.
All right, happy Thanksgiving, and watch out for Pete Iacobelli, whatever he asks.
You have a happy Thanksgiving. I appreciate you.
All right, so after that intro, we'll go over to Pete.
Stan doesn't know what he's talking about, Shawn. Hey, nice to see you again. Just wanted to know, how much player development means to a program. What is it like when you face an offseason where, hey, I'm not 100% sure that everybody I think is coming back because of the free movement that we've got in college football now? Does that make recruiting, even the guys you have on your team, a year-round thing?
Yeah, it's crazy. I was sitting there, and we had senior day last weekend. And we got guys with years of eligibility, another year of eligibility. Some guys are wanting to walk. Some guys are. I'm like, no, so that makes it real awkward for senior day. And then you have to say, all right, now we got senior day, and then we got 2 weeks left in our season. This guy's going to walk. He's got an extra year. That's going to be a little awkward in meeting space, meeting time. it makes for a tough environment, but I think they all understand where I stand with this. If you want to be a part of our football program and you want to excel and you want to be coached hard and you want to develop and have discipline and you want to be able to, I think, do a whole lot more than just the X's and O's of the game of football, then we want you here. If you don't, if you're enticed to go take some offers somewhere else and you think you're going to benefit somewhere else, man, let me open the door for you. Let me show you the way. I'll even pull my car up and drive you to the airport. I have no problem with it, because as soon as those guys leave us, I'm going to go out and replace them. And we had a lot of guys walk out the door on us a year ago. And the guys that we replaced them with, I wouldn't trade those guys to come back for anything. Yeah. So, it is what it is. It's what college football has become. It's not something that I'm happy about. It's something I have to deal with on a daily basis. But, I'm going to make the best of it. If I were going to sit around here and bitch and gripe and complain about all this stuff, man, they'd run me out of football. But you know what? I've got to go with the flow, and I've got to do it. Somebody wants to leave, I got to get somebody in. Excuse me.
Thanks, Shawn. Appreciate it.
I'll go over to Brady. Brady?
Hey, Coach. I was going to ask about ODU. They played a lot of one-possession games this year. I guess, what is it from what you've seen that has them, whoever the opponent is, kind of playing these tight games all year?
I mean, they're playing pretty well. It's the parity in our league right there. They're well coached. They're just they play for 4 quarters. They've got no quit in them. If you watch their just the effort of those guys, you take 42 on defense. I mean, he's all over the place. I mean, he's a one-man wrecking crew, and they just keeps them in the ball game. They keep fighting. They'll hit a big play here and there, and just keeps them on point and on stride offensively. But they've played a lot of good football this year. I think they played much better football than what their record indicates. And like I said, it's going to be a tough one up there.
And with them being 5-6 and needing this one for bowl eligibility, is that a note to the guys of like, hey, they're going to come into this one really, really wanting it?
No, I mean, we're playing a game, Brady. I don't know if you've ever went out and played one or not, and that's not, throwing shade or you or anything like that. But when you play a game and you're a competitor, you go out to play to win. It doesn't matter if you're 1-10. It doesn't matter if you're 2. Whatever your record is. I mean, this is a competition that you grow up. I mean, it's been instilled in you as a competitor all your life, and that's the game in itself. It's not what happens after the game. It's that feeling you get when that clock hits 0 that you just defeated another opponent. That's what drives us. That's the inspiration. That's the motivation behind all of this. It's not, hey, they're going to be really fired up to come out here and play because they have a chance to go to a bowl game. No, they're really fired up because they're playing Georgia State and they want to win this game. And it's no different from us. Setting our mark right here would be fantastic to go set that mark. But it's Old Dominion. It's a conference game. It's very important to us. And anytime you play a game, you play it to win it. And if you don't have that mindset, then you're in the wrong business. You need to go do something else. You need to go find some other sport. Probably need to get out of sports if you're not competitive anytime you go and play a contest.
Thank you. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. You guys be good. Travis, stay off that doggone turkey now.
Yes, sir.
Probably the dressing.
Yeah, so first of all, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And I hope you enjoy your families, and obviously to be thankful and grateful for. But, a good team win for us Saturday, a good program win. Never been part of anything like that, of what we experienced in that quarter and a half of football. And what I mean by that is, as y'all probably know, 17 minutes went off the game clock and we didn't take one snap of offensive football. And, I thought we played complimentary football. A football game comes down to 3 to 4 plays. I thought, they came out and did a good job. They scored on 3 of their first 4 possessions, but we were able to match possessions. And I thought really the first score on 4th and 1 was a key play. And then obviously generating a turnover in our own end of the field and being able to capitalize on 7 points. But, really proud of the way the players competed. I think, again, complimentary football. We won the double positive in terms of turnovers and then explosive plays. So good and moving forward. Another great challenge going on the road, playing a Marshall team that's as talented as anyone we have in our league. If you look at their defense, extremely disruptive. They have all conference football players at all levels of their defense. Offensively, running backs as good of a running back as we've seen all year long. Big imposing offensive line, good skills, and very, very good on special teams. So again, it's a great challenge, great place to play, great venue, very prideful program. And so, we have to move forward, and it's going to be a great challenge on Saturday.
All right, thank you, Coach. We'll start off with Luke Madison. Luke.
Hey, Coach, you and I had a conversation last year about your first two recruiting classes and how you had the top classes in the conference while fielding those losing seasons and how it could possibly look once things started getting on a roll for you. This year, you played 61 players who were in their first 2 years. 21 of those are true freshmen, and now you're bowl eligible with a chance to finish the regular season with a winning record. How much does this help you with recruiting moving forward, and how much could a win this week help with interest from bowl representatives?
Well, again, you play the game to win, and obviously it's going to be a great challenge, but, excited to go there and compete. We made a commitment when we came here that we were going to build it through the high school ranks and supplement it through the transfer portal. There's only 8 players that are even on our roster from when we came here. So again, I looked out there at the end of the game, and on defense, we had 8 true freshmen that were playing for us, and we made that decision, and we're still going through the learning process of what quality football looks like, how you prepare every single week, the connection that's important, the focus, the details. But I can't say enough about our players. We only had 11 seniors, and those 11 seniors have brought so much to our program, from being players that the younger players want to emulate on a daily basis. So, we've come a long way, but still a long ways to go, but was excited for them, their families, and really for our entire community. But now it's what you do with it, and it's time to move forward.
All right, we'll go over to Joseph. Joseph.
Hey, Coach. Just with the bowl eligibility you guys reached this year, what do you think has been the biggest shift in your team's, mentality, mindset in terms of this year versus the other years that you've been with the Wolves?
Well, I think we're a completely different football team. Luke just said it. When you look at it, most of our roster is comprised of first and second year players, and then, some older players that have really, really helped. But I think it's a mindset, it's a culture. And I knew, the thing when I knew we were going to be okay is after the Oklahoma game, after the first game of the year. And obviously we didn't play up to our expectations, and everyone was extremely disappointed. But when we got back to Jonesboro, the leaders of our team called a team lift, and there was no coaches there, and they got off the buses from the airport, and they went down and they changed, and they worked out as a football team. And right there, I knew our culture had kicked in, and it was working. So we had to stay the course. And when you're as young as we are, every day, every game is a learning stage. There's a growth opportunity, good, bad, and indifferent. We just, continue to stay the course. And obviously now another great challenge of going on the road this Saturday.
All right, we'll go over to Jeremy. Jeremy.
Hey, Coach. It seemed like the defense played lights out against Texas State, but 3 targeting calls, 3 ejections. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, again, I know that that's a point of emphasis, and everything is about player safety. I can assure you that they weren't trying to do that. One I thought was extremely questionable, and I don't know quite how to coach it any other better way. He was in a football position. So again, we've turned it in, and we'll wait a word. But, I do understand that, it's pivotal player safety. And so, again, we have to understand, how to tackle all those certain things. One was a true freshman, as we know, Jordan Sample, who was really playing for the first time. So that's a great learning point and teach point as we continue to go. And again, I support them. But there was one that I thought, as a coach, I think it'll be on a teach tape is, as we continue to improve our game and improve the fundamentals and details across the board, how do you learn from it? How do you teach from it? How do you move forward? But again, I can assure you that, nothing happened by they were trying to intentionally do that. It's just one of those things, football's still a contact sport and it's all about split decision making. But again, I also understand the relevance of the rule.
All right, we'll go over to Logan. Logan.
Coach, happy Thanksgiving to you. Wanted to ask about Zach Wallace and his status for Saturday's game, and then 2, just seeing Mike Sharp and Cedric Hawkins come in and make the impact that they did on Saturday.
Yeah, I tell you, I've been really, really encouraged with our entire running back room. And again, very youthful, but, very, very unselfish. They support each other. They're each other's biggest fans. They coach each other up on every single play. And as we know, that's a room that sometimes can challenge you with a lot of things, and they don't. Again, they just are really, really unselfish. In terms of Zach Wallace's status, we expect him to play. So it's just a bruise. So we expect him to be available. And, we've developed some depth there, which is great to see him moving forward.
Thank you. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Okay. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right.
I won't bust on you about the turkey or the dressing, just so you know.
I appreciate that, Coach.
Have a good one.
You as well.
Yeah. Really good win for us against a great Georgia Southern team. Our 9th game that's been decided by 1 score. So obviously we've had a bunch of those. Our guys just continue to fight the whole way through, and obviously that's a tough place to win. So to get a win there was huge.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start off with Dan McDonald. Dan.
Morning, Coach.
Morning.
Your team's gotten itself back into a situation where you win, your season will continue. What's been the big catalyst on that?
I don't know if there's been necessarily one thing. I think our guys just, we talk about 1-0 all the time. So we probably talked about, the possibility of a bowl game one time. And we just talked about having 20 more days with each other. Each team is individual. Each team, each year, it's different. Not because of the transfer portal and all those sort of things, but just the nature of college football. Guys graduate and move on, and so each team is so different. And so you only have 1 year with that team, 1 year with that experience. Guys grow as leaders. Guys mature. Guys change their roles. All those sort of things. So I think these guys they want to battle and see if they can get 20 more days with this team. And I think that's really, really important. And it says a lot about our young men.
Now that you've had a chance to look at Georgia State, what about them can create you some issues?
They got a lot. They got a lot. They got a great running back who's really, very patient. I coached running backs for a few years in my career, and he's a good player now. Breaks arm tackles, runs behind his pads, but can make people miss. Does some really good things. Their quarterback, that extra added weight that he put on the offseason, I know he talked a lot about. It helps him. He's been a great runner. He's always been a great runner, but now he can take a few more hits here and there and that sort of thing. He's done a really nice job there. And he throws the ball down the field well. Their tight ends are tough. In fact, they can just put them in the B gap and block 3 techniques and things like that is awesome. And then obviously you can't run the ball the way they do without having a great offensive line. And then, defensively, they do a great job of running a bunch of different looks, a bunch of different coverages, but not having a bunch of mistakes and busts and things like that. They're not picking things out of a hat. It's very well organized, very well planned. And so it shows a tremendous amount of coaching by, Coach Elliott and his staff.
If I could ask one more real quick, you talked a lot about the league and how solid it was when you came into the league, but did you ever envision a position where if your team wins, Marshall wins, Louisiana wins, this league could have 12 teams in bowl games?
The only reason why I think that was going to be hard and it's been such a is because our league plays a tough out of conference schedule too. It's not like we're out there just padding our stats or anything like that. This league we play we play all comers, and I think that shows a lot about what type of conference that we have. I mean, you know, you don't want. I mean, it's a grind in this conference. Every single game you have. I mean, it is one of those things where it's like, where do we all get all these guys? Where do we all get all these players? Where do we get all these, I mean, it's amazing. And I think it speaks a lot. Just the organizational league, the coaches, the players, it's awesome. I mean, we just watched Georgia State, and I'm going to take 30 seconds to say this. Jaden Daniels is the Heisman Trophy winner at LSU. That was the freakiest thing I've ever seen in my entire life, other than some of the runs I've watched Saquon, do when I was coaching there and some of those sort of things. But my God, watching him on game tape was amazing.
Yeah, a lot of us in Louisiana feel the same way. Appreciate it, Coach.
Holy moly. Yeah.
All right, we got time for one more from Sam. Sam?
Coach, can you talk a little bit about the trust that your coaching staff had and that your quarterback Grant Wilson had in your field goal kicker Ethan Sanchez to kind of slide there at the end, set up the game-winning field goal for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, one of our goals was selfless effort this week, and Grant would have been the first player in Old Dominion history to rush for a touchdown, throw for a touchdown, and catch a touchdown in the same game if he just walks in the end zone right there. So to have that sort of selfless effort to make sure that we win that game, to not have to kick off, to not have to do anything else like that is awesome. And I thought that it was great. Ethan, 1-0 mentality, which was one of our other things that we really talked about. He missed one earlier in the game. He stepped right up there and he nailed that thing with absolutely zero doubt. And the other one we talked about that was critical was conviction, and to be able to believe in your teammates the way that Grant did and the way everybody did. When they scored that touchdown to tie the game up, there was no one on our sideline who didn't think we were going to win that game on that next 2-minute drive. I saw some of the most belief. Even the guys coming off the field on defense, they're like, offense, you got it. It's over. We're going to win right here. That wasn't a knock on Georgia Southern. That was just a belief in each other. I mean, and I thought that was something that, says a lot about the culture that our players are building with each other.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Big day here in West Virginia. It's opening buck season. So a lot of our players are probably scrambling down from deer stands and headed back this way for meetings. Obviously a tremendous opportunity this weekend to send out a senior class that has a special place in my heart. This is kind of the last of the dying breed. So this is the last group of players who committed to Marshall before I got here and chose to stay. And that says a lot, not only about them, but where we are in college football. For those guys to continue to believe in, what we've built here, what we're building, and not only just believe in it, but take and run with it. We are who we are, and we play how we play because of these seniors. And this is a great opportunity this week to go out and honor them against an unbelievable opponent coming in here this Saturday.
All right, we'll start off with Luke Creasy. Luke.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, when you get bowl eligible, have you been in this situation yet as a coach where you need this last game of the season in kind of a winner go home situation, and how are you handling that with the coaching staff and with the players?
I know it doesn't seem like it, but I have been a part of worse. We were 1-11 when I was at Western Michigan, and we won the last game of the year on a Hail Mary, throw it up in the back of the end zone, and we called it and won the game, and you would have thought we won the Super Bowl. So I have been a part of worse. Have not been a part of worse often, but ultimately we're good. I'm good. Obviously, don't get me wrong. I want to win every game, and if I could cut a finger off and guarantee that I win every game for the rest of my life, you could have all 10. But I do believe when you are in the process, when you are in the middle of it, you understand why some things are happening. I think one of the things that we talked about early in the season is expectations are external, and what everyone expected us to do was external. We knew some of the issues we had. We knew what we were going to have to do. We knew the hurdles we were going to have to climb in order to have success this season. So the expectation of, okay, well, this season is a disappointment is external. Are there some things that, in-house that we feel like we can improve on, we could do better? Absolutely. But there were no quote unquote goals or, we have to win this many games or that many games. The only goal we had was to go out every week and improve. And when you have that kind of mindset, then the ebbs and flows of a season don't really knock you off course. So internally, we're good. Obviously, I want to win more than anybody else. And putting in the amount of hours and the amount of effort that the staff and our players put in, and then not to get the result that you expect or want, it's a grind. But also, when you understand the process and you understand what you're trying to do, how you're trying to improve, you understand that there's no guarantees. We play a very tough conference. The game of football, the ball bounces different ways with injuries and scheduling and all those type of things. And I think, this weekend is a great example of through all the storm, through all the ups and the downs, we got an opportunity to go out and talk to the team, or we'll talk to the team here in a little bit about putting an exclamation point on this season. An exclamation point just kind of, emphasizes, how we finish. And that's what we're going to get an opportunity to do. That's what we're looking forward to.
All right, we'll go over to Kevin Tuckerville. Kevin.
Good morning, Coach.
Morning.
Wanted to ask you about your impressions of Arkansas State, especially their offense after last weekend. And obviously, I know you worked with Coach Jones. You guys worked together at Alabama. Just your connection there.
Yeah, a lot of respect for Coach Jones. Probably one of my closest friends. Take football out of it. Our time together at the University of Alabama, he really helped me just kind of molding into being a head coach and some of the behind the scenes things that you don't really know until you're in the chair. So a lot of respect and appreciation for him. His team's playing really well. I would think, earlier in the year we played Georgia State, and I made the comment they were probably one of the most improved teams in the league. And now, when you watch, Arkansas State in our prep, I would make the argument that they're right up there with them. It's one of the most improved teams. They're playing well in all three phases. Their defense is humming around. Offensively, they're moving the ball and scoring points. Obviously, you saw the score from last week. Special teams wise, they're doing some things explosive wise. They got a returner number 2 who's doing some really good things in the return game. It's going to be a challenge. It's not going to be just show up and give their seniors their jerseys and walk off the field victorious. It's going to be a challenge. I think that's what this league has created. Is every week you got to be on your A game, and getting a chance to go against Coach Jones, who's obviously coached at multiple levels and has a wealth of experience. Is an honor for me as a coach, and then obviously to challenge his team is going to be fun.
Time for one more. We'll go to Pete with the Associated Press.
Charles, you talked about your affection for this senior class, the dying breed, I guess you called it. What's it like adjusting to this reality in college football, where one day you might lose a developing player to a Power 5, and 3 days later you get a Power 5 player who may be dissatisfied with his role? It's got to keep your head on a swivel, I would imagine.
Well, I think it's where we are. We got to live with it, but I think it also it keeps you on your toes, like you said, and it keeps you. And what I think it does is it forces you to develop genuine relationships with every player in your locker room.
Yeah.
Used to be, as a head coach, you may spend a lot of time with the guys that are playing, the juniors and the seniors, or that starting 11 or that travel squad, and you kind of tell the red shirt group, "Hey, I love you, but let's talk in the spring." And but now I find myself, coming out to practice and going to talk to those guys who are redshirting, or going to talk to those guys who aren't playing as much. And I've started a deal where I'm calling 1 or 2 of them in my office a week just to say hello. How you doing? How's mom? Because you recruit these guys, and you put all these time in recruiting, you meet their families and you do all that, and then they get here and you redshirt, and then you start focusing on the X and the O's. I think what it does is it forces you to develop and maintain genuine relationships, because it doesn't take long for that girlfriend that you don't call or write to all of a sudden start to drift away. And a kid that's, we've got some kids here that are far from home. And they came out of high school, they were really good players and they were playing, and all of a sudden they get here and they got to kind of wait their turn. And that gap between the relationship they had with you in recruiting and that relationship they have now, when it starts to widen, all of a sudden now, homesickness sets in, a friend calls at another school, hey, I'm playing, why aren't you playing? You should come here. So it's forced me and our staff to really continue to define, redefine, re-engage those relationships, just so the kid knows, hey, yes, you are going to be a good player. Right now you're playing behind some older guys, you got to get stronger, whatever it is. But I think it's forced coaches to be more relational, year round, not just the 70 or 80 guys that are playing.
Yeah. Thanks, Charles.
Thank you. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks, guys. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. If I don't get a chance to see you before then, hope everybody has a good holiday. Thanks. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Well, I'm really proud of the fight of our team the last couple of weeks. We talked about doing hard things in hard times. And after, a couple tough weeks there in a row, we were able to respond the last 2 weeks. And I thought, our guys on senior day did a really tremendous job of acknowledging, their senior day and honoring those seniors and their families that were here. And then, kind of refocusing themselves to produce at a high level. Tremendous job by our defensive players and coaches to get our first ever FBS shutout. That's a really hard thing to do. I joked with them. I was the defensive coordinator here for 2 years and I never got an FBS shutout. So pretty great on their part. But certainly our special teams was tremendous. That was the number 2 kickoff return team in the country in Marshall. And I thought we kind of really frustrated them all day in terms of moving the ball around and covering kicks. I don't think they took a ball outside the 25-yard line all night, which was pretty amazing, considering what they've done all season. And then offensively, we were able to kind of wear them down in the run game against a very good defense and defensive line. So some really positive things, some complimentary things in terms of how we played. And we are really looking forward to a tough matchup in San Marcos, Texas on Saturday. So one that we hope to be able to finish really well on our season and continue some momentum as you prepare for postseason play.
Coach, we'll start off with Dan McDonald. Dan.
Morning, Coach.
Good morning.
The last 2 weeks, is this the kind of defense that you've been looking for consistently from your team all year long?
Well, we certainly, I think we took steps in the right direction this week. We've had some great defensive performances this year. We have had performances where we just haven't been responsive enough, especially when we needed to. And so after, 2 really hard losses, I thought our defense really has stepped up the last couple of weeks and responded well, giving up only whatever it's been 14 points in 2 games total. So some great things defensively. I think it starts up front. Our defensive line is playing at a really high level right now. We're also getting some tremendous pass rush. I think our defensive backs and linebackers are anticipating more things coverage wise, and they're starting to really break on the ball. We were able to create 3 interceptions this past week. And so some really good things that we're doing and anticipating. And then the biggest deal is situational football. We've been able to get off the field on 3rd down. 2 weeks ago, we had some good red zone defense. This week, they never got down there. So that's the best red zone defense, but certainly very pleased with what I've seen from our guys this week.
When you look at Texas State, a game that things just snowballed on them last week, is it difficult to play because you have postseason already locked up? That's in front of you. Is it difficult to play a game that really, there's not a lot riding on it except pride?
I would say for our team, as hard of a year, and we've had to kind of really scratch and claw for things that we've gotten, finishing well, I think, is on the forefront of everybody's mind, and finding a way to win this last regular season game as we head into postseason play. We have never won a bowl game in program history. Momentum is a huge piece of heading into bowl preparation. And so I think that's a main factor of our guys, that we want to make sure we finish well. We've never won at Texas State either, which is another opportunity there, obviously, and motivation for us. And then certainly, when you look at the landscape, you want to be as attractive of a team to these bowl committees and and operation in terms of when you start getting in the pecking order. And I think whoever wins this game finishes second in the West. If I was told correctly on that. So there's some really good things to look at. But ultimately, I think our players are excited to go play and continue to play kind of the way that we've been playing these last couple of weeks.
If I could ask one more quickly, you mentioned the bowl games and so forth. You've been around this league for a while. Did you ever envision a scenario where this league could easily, if things fall properly, have a dozen teams in bowl games?
Yeah, that's what a tremendous nod to the Sun Belt as a whole, and just another indicator that we're moving in the right direction and establishing ourselves as one of the premier conferences in college football. We've got teams, that are playing at the highest level right now in Troy and James Madison. And then you've got teams that are competitive across the board. There's not one week that you walk in going, hey, we just feel like we've got such an advantage in our matchup. And so I think that speaks to such a healthy league. And it also speaks to how competitive everyone has been in terms of resources and talent and finding ways to navigate the transfer portal and name, image, and likeness and all those things. And so I think we're in a really healthy position right now as a conference.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thanks.
Thank you. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks, guys.